Oh, hi. My name's Amanda Lee. I am a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Health Sciences. I'm a nurse. I've trained as a midwife and an advanced nurse practitioner. Academia is my second career. I worked as an academic since 2000, completed my PhD in 2016, and I was Associate Dean International for a number of years as well. So the reason why I decided to seek promotion was because I just felt that I wanted recognition for my own worth. I've worked as the Associate Dean International for 4 years. I've had a long and strong history of good leadership in my previous career in nursing. I've completed my PhD. I've had over 27 publications in academic peer-reviewed journals. And I've set up the first ever nursing transnational education agreement in China. So I felt that I was starting to reach the academic promotion panel criteria for at least the Band 9. Okay, so why knowledge exchange and not research? I was sitting between both, and that was a really difficult conversation to have. I consulted with my manager, and we looked at which domain fitted me best. Because I haven't had too much experience with research grant applications and the grant research funding applications. I have done since, but because I hadn't at the time, the knowledge exchange domain seemed to fit a lot more and align a lot more with my then role, which was Associate Dean International. Okay, so I started the process, I probably started thinking about the process 2 years before I actually applied. I started really giving myself an idea about what the different domains were and how I could apply, and started trying to align what I was doing as an academic with what was going to be expected of me. I spoke to some people who had acted and sat on panels beforehand. As an Associate Dean International as well, I sat in one of the panels. I was able to look at other people's applications, and I started to realise that I was probably going to fit the criteria for Band 9. And the first thing I did was to meet up with my line manager, who was the Dean of Faculty then, Julie Jameen, and she was brilliant. She sat me down, we talked about all of my progress to date, outcomes that I was going to achieve and that I could achieve. We talked about how I could work harder and smarter to make sure that I could requirements of the knowledge exchange domain. And that was really helpful. I also spoke to Patrick and Martha as well, and attended a couple of their presentations and sessions, because what that did was to help me to fathom out how to complete the portfolio of evidence that is required. So Julie Jameen was Professor and Faculty of the Professor and Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences. She was my immediate line manager in my role as Associate Dean International. She helped me just to fathom out my workload and align the strategic direction of the Associate Dean International role alongside my other things. With her and saying I wanted to look at either KE or research domains, and we had a number of conversations to see whether or not I could sort of straddle both, because what I was trying to bring was that whole rounded academic, which I think is crucial to the success of any academic career. So yeah, Julie Jameen was my first line of contact. I applied for a research grant and I didn't get the research grant. That made me wonder whether or not I was going to go along with the knowledge exchange or research. That was quite an interesting one. I was also trying to manage my academic workload, the lots of travel which was associated with Associate Dean International role. I had to manage and maintain my own academic sort of credibility and everything else through publications and the research that you're having to do. as well as complete this portfolio of evidence. And the portfolio of evidence, to be honest with you, took me far longer than I was expecting it to. It was a real slog. It was very difficult to sort of to bring it all down into the very small amount of words that you actually do end up with. So yes, I did think about giving up. I think the 15 pages it was very interesting to come to the organisational design sort of personnel. So Patrick and Martha helped a lot and gave me some real good hints and tips on keeping down to the 15-page limit. We're all expected to do a CV as an academic, and those CVs have to align with different research or different types of outputs that you're trying to do through WorkTribe at any one time. For this particular one, you have to fulfil University of Hull's CV outline and requirements, and that means having to rewrite everything and rethink things which align with leadership and research and knowledge exchange. And you have to really think about your strengths and your weaknesses and where you are at the time to make sure that they align perfectly within that 15-word document. So yeah, I think it's very, very difficult to keep it all condensed. But as an academic, trying to juggle so many different plates of needs for a different type and format of CV, yes, it was very difficult. And in retrospect, I did think whether or not it would have been easier just to apply to a different university. But having said that, I'm really pleased I did, because I'm really pleased that I did go through the academic promotions panel. And the reason for that is because I started thinking about what I can give to the university and what the university means to me, and what support mechanisms we have in the university to help us to go through academic promotions. Okay, so when you're compiling your evidence, start thinking a couple of years in advance, start looking at the domains now, ask your colleagues and peers. I certainly did this for their old forms that they'd sent beforehand. I mean, things change slightly every single year, so be prepared for that. But certainly, as you're compiling evidence, make sure that everything fits. One thing that I have done in the past, I could probably have applied earlier had I have understood the process a little more. But the evidence only counts. It's only about what the last 5 years of stuff that you've done. And I've done a lot of leadership roles in my past. So, you know, I set up the first ever nurse-led clinics in Australia. I've done a lot of work to advance the nurse practitioner movement in Australia, working with governments and officials, and many things that I've done which just didn't count towards the academic careers framework. Nobody acknowledged what I had been. It was only what I had done in the past 5 years. So if you're compiling evidence, make sure that you are aligning with whatever it is now, and make sure that you can sort of prepare and work really well with your manager and use your meetings that you have regularly with your manager to align you to where you want to be next. The other thing I haven't mentioned was I had a number of colleagues who 15-page document as well, just gave me some feedback, picked up any typos, identified any problems that there might have been, helped me write sentences in a way that I got the point across, helped me really work on my presentation skills. Not that they were bad in the first place, but people who have been through the process know the process and understand what's coming. The other thing I would say as well is for knowledge exchange in particular, be really explicit. Tell people what you're doing and how that aligns with the knowledge exchange domain. Be really specific, because you don't know. The panel don't understand your particular nuances. So one thing that I don't think I did too well in retrospect, on reflection, is I didn't tell people that in developing a nursing transnational education agreement, I didn't convey the absolute nuances of that not just being an educational programme, but having to liaise with hospitals, healthcare workers, government, Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Sciences, and all of these other places, and also, the tax departments and the affiliated services that you really do have to deal with. I didn't portray the absolute nuances of clinical practice and health. So I would say, don't expect the panel to understand your discipline. Make sure that you're really explicit in making sure that they can understand it. So as a result of my promotion, I guess the biggest thing for me was it was just validation of what I'd done in the past. The promotion has validated my abilities as an academic, and I feel ready and set to move forwards with that. The Associate Dean International roles have all been dissolved now, so that disappeared. But alongside that, now I know where I'm focused. I understand the promotions panel. I understand all of those policies and regulations and what to do and how to do them. And now I am aligning what I'm doing in the present as a senior lecturer with what I need to do in the future to be able to get to the next level, which is reader or prof. So I've been doing a few things. I've applied for, I've put forward a couple of £100,000 research grants and things like that I'm trying to look at now. And I'm working closely with council to keep a foot in the knowledge exchange domain as well. So, it's about having fingers in pies and making sure that you work as hard but as effectively as you possibly can. So I think one thing that I would say is that if anybody is looking to apply, you're more than welcome to have a look at my at any of my application package. I'd be more than happy to share any experience with you. We're all academics. We all have the same chances at these. We all have exactly the same outputs that we have to develop. So, it's not a competition. This is about acknowledging and recognising our. And if we don't acknowledge and recognise our success as professional, articulate academics, then who can? So good luck for everybody, and I hope my conversations helped a little.